In the criminal justice system, crimes against children in precious cinnamon rolls is considered especially heinous, and so I guess it's incredibly lucky that we have a time traveler to help solve this case, but only through hard work and multiple timelines will he be able to get to the bottom of this case. This is his podcast.
But before we get into all that fun stuff, warning, the following investigation may contain language that may not be suitable for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Also, there is always the possibility that spoilers may be present for any and all anime being discussed. So if a series that you have not finished yet is starting to be talked about, you might want to plug your ears. And finally, be on the lookout for any of the warning signs that your 10-year-old may actually be a time traveler from the future. 1. They have an uncanny ability to detect what's about to happen mere seconds before it takes place. 2. They have a tendency to use very strong language that you wouldn't normally associate with a 10-year-old outside of New Jersey. And finally, they actually get up in the morning before their parents do and actually want to go to school. That is just not normal, people. I repeat, that is not normal. Let the investigation begin.
Hello and welcome to Dub Talk, where a group of intrepid time travelers go on a journey to talk about a recent dubcast or announcement. I'm your host, Jet. And tonight, I'm joined by Andrew.
Gotta get back to the past. Satoru Jack.
Noah.
Because I'm gonna be back in time. Da-da-da.
And Hardy. Hey.
Let's do the time warp again.
And again, and again, and again, until we finally get the timeline that we wanted in this game.
'Cause the movie never ends. It goes on and 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 on.
All right. That's enough.
Stop. In the name of love.
God damn it.
Dang it. Okay, so we're here tonight to sit down and review the dub for Winter 2016 hit series, The Town Without Me, otherwise somehow localized as Erased.
It kind of makes sense as a title. I mean, there was two choices. It was either they were going to localize it with the long-ass title, or they were going to cram it down to 2 syllables like we do with Orimo or Don Manchi or any other show like that.
I appreciate they changed it to Erase just so they can make it simpler. So, I have a question. Is this a 2017 dub, ladies and gentlemen?
No, it is not.
And why is that?
Because it hasn't been made available streaming for like the last year or so.
Until now.
And who do we have to blame for not releasing it on streaming for a year? Hardy,
thanks, Henry.
Yep.
Thanks
asshole.
a lot, Henry. Really appreciate it.
He can't hear you as he's swimming through his Scrooge McDuck money pile.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's like bathing in that Madoka Magica money. Oh yeah, you splash a bucket of cash on you, bitch. Oh yeah.
Speaking of Madoka Magica, what does this show have in common with Madoka Magica, Jet?
That's okay. We're not there yet. Okay. Okay. So if you haven't heard of Erased follows the story of 29-year-old Satoru Fujinuma, a depressed manga artist who's filled with regret over not being able to save some of his childhood friends from a mysterious serial killer. And in a twist of fate, he possesses a mysterious power known as Revival that allows him to briefly go back in time and undo minor tragedies. But when a serial killer from his past returns and frames Satoru for his mother's death, Satoru must travel back to his childhood in order to change the future and save his friend Kayo in the process.
Now that you mentioned that intro Andrew was using with Samurai Jack opening, that sounds a lot more relevant now.
I can't believe it took you all this long to get that. Okay.
No, I knew what it was. I thought we were all just referencing time travel shows.
It worked out pretty nicely.
Okay, so to start things off, we will go with our director and our scriptwriter. So, did anyone besides me have predictions for these?
No.
I did not have predictions on the grounds that by the time I wasn't even sure if this was going down, I wasn't sure who was going to be what. I had a couple ideas here and there, but I didn't predict anything for director.
And to be fair, we should probably specify for our listeners out there, in case you didn't know, this is a California dub. Much like a couple other shows that we will talk about in the future, this was not dubbed with our the staple of actors and directors that we're mostly used to. Like, I know, Jet, you follow the California actors more than some of us do, but I think a bunch of us just don't follow people who are directors or ADR writers over in Bang Zoom.
To be fair, there's at least a couple of go-tos when it comes to Bang Zoom, and if I'm correct, I think one of my personal favorite go-tos is in charge of this one.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so my predictions were for both ADR director and scriptwriter. I said Patrick Seitz. Reason pretty much being...
I wonder why.
Okay, yeah, reason pretty much being this was around the time the dub for Your Lie in April came out, and that was pretty much my favorite dub for last year. So I figured he'd do a pretty good job on that, especially since this was kind of another drama thing.
Fine taste, sir. I commend you. I give you a shot glass of good taste right there. Whoa.
Yep, but instead, for both our ADR director and our scriptwriter, we have Alex Von David, and I think this might somehow be the first time we've ever mentioned him on this show.
I think you're right, and that's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah. Okay, so Alex Von David, you may know him for, he's done a few things, a few obscure shows. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. He's done, Blue Exorcist, the Madoka Magica movies, Toradora, Durara, Season 2, Kill la Kill, and, this other thing, Sorted Online. I don't know, I never heard of it.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard of those shows. Please.
Doesn't ring a bell, honestly. Maybe it's just because I've been trying to forget that one particular show as much as possible.
But the rest of those are a solid catalog of titles.
Yeah.
They are.
Yep. Okay, so my feelings on this in a nutshell are, well, personally, I feel pretty confident in saying that Alex Von David is honestly kind of more or less one of the best directors in the industry. I mean, I've been following his work since Blue Exorcist in 2012, and, since then, he pretty much keeps pumping out great stuff. Like, I don't think I've ever seen him turn in anything mediocre.
I always really enjoy the vocal performances and casting choices that come with a lot of his shows. He brings a lot out of these actors, and he brings out a lot of them together. He seems to have a very good working relationship with a lot of them, too. The thing that's also noticeable to me in some of his other shows that is definitely noticeable to me as somebody who's watched the sub and the dub of this now is that there is definitely a sweary vocabulary for many of the lines.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It works for a lot of these scenes, but there's a couple moments where it's like, you're still a 10-year-old kid. Why are you saying beat the shit out of her?
Yeah, I can kind of see your problem with that.
Those moments, do come up. I was kind of listening specifically for those because I was trying to gauge whether or not this dub would be something you could recommend to like a PG-13 audience. Those moments, though, don't really seem to come out more until it gets more intense. They don't pull a free or a durarara where they just throw out the swear words willy-nilly. They are relevant and they are like motivated when the characters are using them.
I'd say absolutely this is it's a fairly PG-13 series because it's got a lot of dark elements, but it doesn't throw children bodies at you every second of the day. You know?
No, just every other episode.
Just every other episode.
Every other timeline.
Yep.
If that kid had just watched where he was going, he would not have been hit by the truck.
I think we have to remember, too, that most of the time Satoru is in a 10-year-old body, but he still has a 29-year-old mind. And so he's going to probably use vocabulary and language that your average 10-year-old is not going to say.
Okay,
So,
that's fair, too.
Right.
What elementary school did you go to?
Yeah. Script-wise, I thought things were pretty fine. Like, the only minor nitpick I had, it was around, like, episode 2 or 3. It was like that bit where Satoru was kind of talking about how he keeps up appearances in order to have friends, like in his own little world. And in one of those lines, he kind of mentioned he referred to it as his middle school world, but Satoru is kind of clearly in elementary school.
Actually, hang on a second. You mentioned something earlier that reminded me of something. The idea that he wasn't being true to himself and that he was putting on a fake persona. You know what? You know what this made me realize? When he goes back in time, the past world is basically a Telltale adventure game. When you really think about it, because he had to basically like press the X or B in time, deciding, do I let this kid win the race or do I go and win ahead? And then it's like as soon as he loses the race, you see Kayo look away, and I just see in the right hand corner in my mind, Kayo will remember that.
Did anyone else think that this assume when they first watched the show that it was based on a visual novel and not a manga?
No, I actually didn't get that impression.
No, I knew it was based on a manga beforehand, so...
It honestly, if this was a visual novel, I would have seen a lot more possible options and paths, like whether you choose to save Kayo, or whether you choose to help Misayo, or Aya, like... now that I think about it, that is potential for a visual novel, but you are dealing with like elementary, middle school grade kids, so that is definitely an odd premise in and of itself. And B, whatever path that this series chose, series director definitely went the Kayo Hinazuki route.
Well, she is best girl, so he had to.
Yep.
Alex Von David, I don't always like the shows that he directs, but his dubs are always solid, so I have no real complaints there. Usually you're in for a very good performance, and this was no exception.
I agree with him.
Yeah. Okay, and on that note, I think we're good to start diving into our cast a little bit.
You're a good guy, Alex. We need to talk about you more. Hopefully we'll change that soon.
Yep. Alright, so first up, we have Sawada and Jun Shiratori, otherwise known as Yuki. Sawada is a reporter who used to work with Satoru's mother and decides to help him when Satoru gets framed for his mother's murder. While Yuki is a young man from the neighborhood who used to play with Satoru and gets framed for all the kidnappings.
Yuki is basically what this show presents, is that he is absolutely the first person you would assume in a kidnapping murder spree. He is like awkward, insecure, very passionate, like friendly towards children, and he is absolutely the first person you would frame for this kind of thing. That's why he was the first go-to victim. He's a good guy, a well-meaning guy, a very awkward guy, and a very sketchy guy.
Is that why Barney the dinosaur is in jail right now?
Wait, Barney's in jail?
Yeah,
Wait,
and so
which
is Easter
Barney?
Bunny
There were-
and Santa Claus.
I was always going to say which Barney, because there were several.
All of them!
Well, all I can say is, I love you.
No, I'm cutting you off. Hardy.
Nope.
So,
You're caught in this murder spree.
Okay. Alright, so did anyone have predictions for either of these two?
Nada.
Nope.
I didn't have one for Sawada, but I did have one for Yuki. Now, a lot of my predictions are going to be just based on the few recent Bang Zoom shows I've seen. Those were Durarara, the Your Lie in April dub, and which other one? A couple other ones there. So in Durarara, there's one of the characters is Walker, who's this nerdy otaku lover who has long, lengthy discussions about the necessity for magical girl characters.
I see where you're getting at, yeah.
So, and the guy who voices him was Brian Beacock, and I didn't know if he was doing anything else at the time, so...
Wait, that's Brian Beacock?
Yeah, that was Brian Peacock.
Huh.
That is Brian Who did you think I was talking about?
I knew the character you were talking about. I just always associate that name with Monokuma, so that's why that kind of surprised me.
That is not Greg Ayres.
Okay, no.
That is not
Okay, you wanna go with me about no.
No. That is for a different alley fight. Don't worry. So I had one prediction. That was Brian for playing Yuki.
Okay, I didn't have any predictions for Sawada either. But for Yuki, I said either Todd Habercorn or Ben Diskin. Mostly because I was just kind of looking for, a decent go-to awkward young man kind of voice, and they're both good at that sort of thing.
I could see Todd.
Definitely see Todd. Although it's kind of hard to pinpoint where he is because he keeps jumping from coast to, well, not coast to coast, but from Texas to California.
He is everywhere and nowhere. He's beside you. He's all around you. Our Lord and Savior, Todd fucking Habercorn.
Fucking Habercorn. Amen.
Yep. Okay, and as for who's actually playing these characters, playing Sawada, we have Will Barrett, and for Yuki, we have Max Middleman.
What?
Okay.
Did you not get that?
No, I did. I'm just pretending.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
What? Max Millman, the One Punch Man, pure lining.
Honestly, he
Okay.
basically does what, like, Saitama does regularly, except he kind of cares a lot more about what people say about him, and he's a lot worse at hiding his porn.
Okay.
That was
Alright.
planted.
Alright, so going down their roles, Will Barrett's been around for a pretty long while, and some of his other credits include Alexander in Reign the Conqueror, Jin Koshikawa in Marmalade Boy, Beerus from the Bang Zoom Dove of Dragon Ball Super, and the ultimate lifeform himself, Cars from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And as for Max Middleman, at this point, if you don't know his name, you probably haven't been paying much attention to California stuff in the last few years. And some of his other work includes Hikari from Alone in the Sea, Inaho from I'll Know a Zero, Yunan from Maki the Kingdom of Magic, Adult Konohamaru from Boruto the Movie, and of course the bald crusader Saitama from One Punch Man. So, thoughts on these two?
I was going to say, there's another particular role I want to mention when it comes to Max Middleman that's very important for this particular performance. He is Ryuichi Sakamoto in Persona 5, and the reason I knew it was Max is it's basically a much more insecure, stuttery version of Ryuji Sakamoto.
Wow, I never saw that coming.
I'm going to assume that's a reference. But
Yes.
It is.
the last game I played was Chinese checkers, so I have no idea what you people are talking about.
You kids and your Vigimo games.
What's funny is that Noah constantly says that he's not into video games, and yet when he came down to Memphis one time, he played a perfect game of Pac-Man and set the highest score in the entire convention. So
Noah, are you video game tsundere?
It's not like I like you or anything, Baka.
It's not like I know how to button mash or anything.
Speaking of dichotomous here, Max and Will, totally opposite characters of each other.
completely.
But I like both of them. Will's is I think he's the only reliable adult male character in the whole cast, because everyone else is either children or suspects in the whole murder scheme that's going on. So he was a nice voice to have in there, and I'm glad that Will was able to play him up as kind of a normal but respectable older gentleman.
I think he does a good job as Sawada. He's got a very cool design and appearance. I just feel like in the actual show proper, he's sort of insignificant.
Yeah, I definitely get that.
Yuki is at the very least is a presence when he's on, and he is somebody you definitely feel for, but he is absolutely the person you would associate for killing kids if you didn't know better.
I almost wonder if, I don't know the motivation of the original manga, but maybe it was written to sort of like try to break up that stigma that people have that if you're a NEET or if you're socially awkward or if you're just kind of less motivated, like people in Japan are told to be, then you shouldn't be assumed to be a terrible person. Like, you can meet plenty of people who are shut-ins or just not really getting anywhere in life, but they're just fine people. They're not going to kidnap kids.
Yeah, like he's just sort of like a nice guy that just works for his family's inn or something. I don't think they're portraying him as like an otaku, more or less. He's just sort of like a guy that just sort of keeps to himself, but is genuinely like nice and just doesn't really know how to show it. Like, if he was like an otaku or something, as they portray in modern media, he'd just be some asshole. It's like, oh, you're just a normie.
He's more, I don't know if it's so much otaku-ish. It's more of a, some people have stuttered gross mentally. They kind of stay feeling like...
Okay, so you're getting at, he's kind of like the guy from Of Mice and Men, in a way.
Yeah, very much. He George from well, not that violent, obviously, but like, he's not going to be killing mice. But the idea that he hangs out with kids comes off as creepy as everybody else. But if he still feels himself like he's in elementary school, like he talks to Satoru about, I bet the cool kid in your class, in your 5th grade class, is like this because cool kids are always the same.
Okay.
So he's clearly still stuck in that mindset.
Okay, I hadn't thought about that, but I see your point. I think he's interesting, though. Yeah, I think Max does a great job as playing awkward Ryuji, and Will does a very good job as Sawada, even though if I don't actually remember what this guy contributes to the plot.
Okay, as for me, I didn't really have too many thoughts on Will Barrett's performance either, but I really like his voice. I'm always pretty happy to see him in things. I mean, like, of all the recent stuff he's done, it's probably the most laid-back character, but, I think he does the wizard reporter thing pretty well, and his voice is kind of pretty suited to that kind of wise old man thing, so it worked. As for Max Middleman, his track record is pretty consistent enough at this point that he almost always turns in good stuff, so I thought he did a great job here. And one thing I noticed about the character that I didn't notice in the Japanese version that you guys were kind of briefly bringing up was kind of like the implication that he might have been autistic.
There's the stuttering there seems to kind of give it away, which I get where Max was going for with that. Stuttering is always really hard to pull off convincingly in ADR directing, so it was a little forced sounding. Max's stuttering was a little forced, but luckily it was all dramatic. It wasn't trying to be comedic. Like there's that one character in Genchi-Ken, like the big guy who's got a stutter, and it always sounds like I'm just reading the lines like this, instead of someone who has a stutter is honestly kind of like what some of us in this cast do sometimes. We're rambling a little bit, not that we're tripping over our words. We just have too many thoughts going a mile a minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I liked how he did it, because it was dramatic. It wasn't trying to be funny. It was an awkward kind of stuttering. So, it's like the best we could get.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. That's pretty much how I felt too. What about you, Hardy?
Basically, we didn't get to hear of Sawada too much, so I really wasn't able to make... He really didn't make too much of an impression on me. Yuki sounds fine. He just sort of sounds like he's not always there, but he's a good kid. So, yeah, I thought it was okay.
Okay, so speaking of kids, I guess it's time to get to some of the actual kids here. And
put that in quotation marks when we talk about the actors themselves, but go on.
Alright, okay, so next up we have Kazu, Osamu, Misato, and Aya Nakanishi.
Let me associate these kids pretty quickly if you don't get this. Kazu is macho! Osamu is the kid with glasses. Misato's a bitch. And Aya is there to move the plot along.
Yeah, that's right. How that goes. Okay, so did anyone have any predictions for these characters?
I
Not
didn't
a single
even remember who. I honestly forgot half of these were people in the show when I first watched it.
It is a sad fact of the show that there are main characters who are more important, and the rest of them kind of feel like they're characters added on to stuff the cast so it feels a little bigger than it actually is.
Like, we're not going to talk about him. I completely forgot that there was a kid who was ice skating that was relevant for like a minute.
You forgot about Christina V?
No,
oh,
I could tell it was Christina V because I heard Killua completely. It's just I forgot that kid was even important. I don't
It's
even think
baby Bakugo.
Oh no, he's not.
Except he's on ice instead of fire.
Well, all the girls want him, and he's like, "Shut up! You have cooties."
Good point.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
true.
so Hardy and Andrew, and you guys didn't have predictions for any of these four?
Nope.
Not a single one. Remember, I was watching this for the first time in the dub, so
Hardy's
I don't
going
have
for
any
this for the
predictions
first
at all.
time.
Okay, I know Hardy doesn't have any predictions. Okay, let's see. I didn't really have any predictions for Misato or Aya, but for Kazu, I said Eric Kimmerer because he has a pretty good little boy voice. And for Samu, I said Julianne Taylor because I guess I was just kind of dartboarding names, and I know she can do little boys pretty well. So
I did a similar thing too in dartboarding names.
Honestly,
At least for these.
like half of these kids are like they need to be there for a couple of minutes, so you need somebody who can sound like a little kid, I guess.
And I did have some predictions for these. I had a prediction for Aya, Aya and Kazu, because I really like the Your Lie in April dub, and so I put two of the Your Lie in April. Well, actually, I think I put Your Lie in April actors all over the place. But for Aya, the studious girl, she reminded me a lot of the character that Erica Harlacher played in Your Lie in April, being this piano player who's is like more cold on the outside, but you can tell there's some softness on the inside.
And did you also predict Eric Scott Kimmer for Kazu?
Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Yes, I did.
Okay, I saw where you were going with that.
Yeah. These four here were going to be a little interesting because we know that there's a stigma of casting child boys in anime as women to play them in the dub. So I did not assume that obviously that Bang Zoom was going to go out and get child actors for this dub. So. But I assumed that with Kazu's persona that they weren't going to get a woman to voice him. They would get a guy, and so that's why I put Eric Scott Kimmerer on there.
To be fair, even in Japanese, I think they had female seiyus because this is a very dialogue-intensive show. So getting like child actors who aren't so familiar with anime dubbing would be very tricky.
I still want to live in the alternative world where like we had Peanuts style acting, where it's like. The stilted cuts and like everything's like really wooden, but it's still kind of charming. It's like this superhero is macho.
How would you deal with Charlie Brown trying to solve a serial murder?
Good grief.
Like I said, I want to live in that alternative world.
Good grief. I found a dead girl's gloves.
Linus, what do I do with the dead child gloves I found? Let me quote Thessalonians for 3 hours.
alright.
Linus, I found her body in the shed.
Alright. Okay,
That'll be 5 cents, please.
Hide your body, 5 cents.
alright,
Okay, Jet,
we gotta go too off topic.
So who voices them?
Okay, alright, so I'm gonna get to the actors. Playing Kazu, we have Bobby Thong. For Osamu, we have Ryan Bartley. For Misato, we have Mela Lee. And then for Aya Nakanishi, we have Corina Botiger. I hope I didn't botch any of these names. If I did, I'm sorry to any of the actors involved. Okay, so going down some of their roles, Bobby Thong's been around for a little bit, but he doesn't have too much in the way of major roles. Some of his other work includes Orkisuke Mikami from I'll Know a Zero, Six from The Familiar of Zero, Spentus from Magi the Kingdom of Magic, and Go Asahi from Mob Psycho. Ryan Bartley is a newer phase that we talked about before the Mob Psycho episode, and some of her other roles include Ophelia from the Asterix War, Nina from Berserk 2016, Tsubomi from Mob Psycho, and Youna from the SAO movie. Mela Lee, on the other hand, she's been around for quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Yep, and some of her other work includes Erika Karisawa from Durara, Yuki Cross from Vampire Knight, Canary from Hunter x Hunter 2011, and Rin Tosaka from the Fate franchise. And as for Karina Botiger, she's another fresher face and doesn't really have too much in the way of notable credits. Her only other named role is Anju Yuki from both seasons of Love Live. Okay, alright, so thoughts on these four?
Bobby Thong is the only one that hit puberty, and so he sounds nice and macho. The most notable thing I really have of this character is I think he has like a sort of budding thing with that Aya girl, and he is sort of responsible for one of my favorite transitions in the show, is where it's like he's trying to get them to talk to Kayo for the first time, and he literally like pushes him into the frame of meeting Kayo outside. I'm like, that's really cool. I like a lot of the directions that the show does, and Tomohiko Ito is able to do some good things when he's not doing SAO things.
Especially on a minimal budget too, because I watched the animation on the show and it's actually kind of paltry for a TV show.
I like, as for Osamu, I like Ryan Bartley, but sort of like Tsubomi, she does literally nothing with this character, so I can't really say anything. Same thing for Karina as Aya, and Mela Lee is Rin Tosaka. She is the queen of bitch. She knows what she's doing.
Which I find so weird, because the first time I heard her was as Erica in Dura Ra Ra, and that was like the antithesis of bitch.
Wait, Erica, as it... Oh, is that the one that was the otaku girl?
The other otaku girl
with
who
the
has
beret.
a thing for BL and
Oh, yeah, that
the
is
Professor
her.
Otaku haircut. Yeah.
I love Erica. She's great. She's like one of the best girls. There's a lot of places. There's a lot of places for best girl, but the only answer is Celti. Fight me!
No. Dura Ra Ra is like My Hero Academia. Every girl is best girl.
No,
That's
no,
not
no,
true.
no,
One
no.
of them wants to fuck their brother.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't count that one.
or the Klingon girlfriend who actually gets the scar across her own neck just so she can get with that one guy. But whatever.
Another.
I kind of admire her, honestly, but that's not the point.
So, I actually, back to Misato, I really like how the actual beef between her and Kayo is literally just, she was showing off her pens that were so cool, so I took it and threw it outside. And that's the most, that is exactly how children go to war, especially, female children, is she was showing off her stuff, I threw it out.
I just realized something. She was, that whole feud started up because Misato had a mechanical pencil, which I didn't think very much of, but then I realized it's 1988. Who had mechanical pencils in 1988?
Oh yeah, that's true.
I didn't have a mechanical pencil. I still hate mechanical pencils, but I didn't see people using them until 6th grade, which was 2001 for me.
I was still a sperm in 1988.
I wasn't even that. Hardy, you must tell us about the golden age of 1988.
Well, back in my day, video games were actually just a quarter.
Oh, we've missed out on so much.
Oh, right.
You're Hardy's like Star-Lord to us.
Oh, yeah,
Play
right.
a mixtape.
This is Japan in the 80s. Everybody's playing Dragon Quest.
Oh, they're playing the Famicom. They even had a long discussion about that.
I appreciate that they said Famicom and Dragon Quest to keep it authentic.
That was nice.
Yeah. As for me, I didn't have too many thoughts on Bobby Thong or Ryan Bartley's performances, but I thought they sounded pretty fine, and I was kind of impressed that Bobby Thong was able to do a pretty believable little boy voice and not have it sound too out of place. And as far as Bella Lee goes, I really wanted her character to get slapped in the face for the first few episodes, so that pretty much speaks to how well she played that character.
By the way, puberty hit her very nicely.
Oh yeah, that is very true.
Dude, you're 29!
Well, look, at the end, in the last couple of minutes of the show, they're all in their 20s.
Okay, I guess it's legal then. Still kind of creepy.
Wait, what the fuck would you think I was saying?
Well, no, I'm just referencing that Satoru kept reminding himself, dude, you're 29.
Oh, yeah.
Stop thinking about your mom and the 11-year-old girl showering together.
Well, the kid's got some issues by the end of the series, okay?
That's true. He's like he's grown up twice now.
I think that was pretty much it for me. She played a snobby little girl very, very well. So you have any thoughts, Hardy?
These were background characters to me. They really didn't make much of an impression, if anything. So, yeah.
It's unfortunate because the pinnacle of having a good ensemble cast is that you can close your eyes, listen to the voice acting, and be able to pinpick each actor out just by their performance. And everyone of these 4 characters, aside from Bobby, because he's got a different timbre, had a kind of a similar, I agree, background voice mentality to it.
Maybe they were more relevant in the manga, but in the 12-episode show that this is, I kind of forget they're there sometimes.
Melody has a great moment, calling out, someone took the money, we should search everyone's backpacks, and then she's done. And Aya has a great moment pointing out, only kids make secret forts, and little boys play I bet you play superheroes too. And then she's done. And Kazu has that great moment, like you said, pushing him into the frame or calling out how awesome superheroes are and how it's good to be macho. And then he's done. And I think Osamu had the least of anything to do of anyone we're going to mention.
The best he contributes to the plot is the opening where he's playing around on a thing and he dumps everything he had in his backpack. And that has nothing to do with the performance or even the character. That was in the opening. That's all he's got. I feel bad.
That's unfortunately true. But I guess the best thing we can say is that if we're going to critique the acting, no one said or spoke anything that stood out to us as being bad or misread or flat, and therefore they get thumbs up from us.
Look, I think Misato called them floozies, and she didn't call them dirty skanks or something, so that actually is what I'd hear a little child in the 80s calling girls flocking towards the teacher.
Yeah.
Which, in context, is very ironic when you think about it.
Oh, God.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Anyway,
even out of context is kind of weird.
Alright. Okay, so rounding out the rest of the kids, we have Hiromi and Kenya Sugita. Hiromi is another one of
Kenya Kobayashi and Hiromi Sugita.
Yeah.
The way you sounded, it sounded like they were brothers.
I couldn't find Hiromi's last name anywhere.
They're spiritual brothers.
Okay, so Hiromi is another one of Satoru's friends who looks a lot like a little girl, which makes him a target for the serial killer. And then Kenya is Satoru's closest childhood friend, and he's also a pretty sharp kid, and kind of a little suspicious.
He's CSI baby.
Okay.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
So,
by
the way, let's talk about red herrings, because both of these two characters have red herrings. One is the red herring of Hiromi, because they assumed that the killer killed him because he was very feminine looking, which is revealed not to be the case later on. And second, I need to bring this up. Episode 3 ends with Kenya talking to the teacher, looking very distraught and upset. On the first watch, that bugged me, but I was curious if there was some context to what that meant in the second rewatch. I watched it a second time. That scene means nothing. I don't understand what that scene meant. I assumed that meant he was supposed to be sketchy, or he was maybe feeding the teacher info, or he was trying to lead Satoru astray. None of that happens. What's the point of that stinger at the end of episode 3?
like I said, I honestly don't remember that, so...
Little kids have problems sometimes.
They do.
Watch it that big stinger at the end was just I'm sad that mommy hits daddy or something like that.
Well, here's the thing, is that after that episode, the teacher starts having one-on-one conversations with Satoru as an 11-year-old kid. I think we're meant to assume that Kenya kind of tipped the teacher off a bit to something's going on, and I think Satoru is involved with it. Because Kenya caught on pretty early on that the Satoru who goes back in time and is looks like an 11-year-old, but obviously a 29-year-old, was acting more mature. So
Okay.
if I had to assume, it was just supposed to set up the connection of now Satoru is going to be talking to the teacher a little bit more, and it's not going to seem so weird. Because what 5th grade teacher just has one-on-one conversations with one of his students about abuse and anything else is going on?
That's the closest thing I can really go off of right now.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty reasonable take. So any predictions for these two?
I honestly, I was thinking about it. I actually think I did predict Erica Mendez for Kenya when I was doing these. I think I predicted Erica or Christina V because I was thinking Gon and Killua.
Okay, did you have anything, Noah?
I did. For Hiromi, I thought it might be Christina V. I don't think I think it was because I just had a blank spot next to Hiromi, and I knew that they were going to cast a woman to play this character, although a part of me kind of wished that they had cast a male actor who could just sound very effeminate, just like to add like a little more touch of believability to it. But obviously that's not where they were going, so I was like, they're probably going to cast a woman, and they're probably going to cast Christina V. Now, as for Kenya, that was one where I was absolutely sure that they were going to cast a male actor because he's the more mature of the group of kids in looks and action, and it would make more sense to me to have a male actor with a higher pitched voice, obviously. And so Kyle McClary was the one who, again, I'm pulling from the Your Lie in April dub, who I thought had the timbre which would be able to match voicing Kenya. It'd be a little different from what he did in Your Lie in April. Like, now he's playing serious CSI baby, but that's he's surprised me with everything else he's done so far, so I didn't think it would be past him to pull off.
Okay. I mean, hey, he was a child. He was a child soldier and not an orphan, so anything's possible.
And he was also a precious cinnamon roll in Mob Psycho 100.
Yeah. Okay. As for me, I said for Hiromi, Brianna Knickerbocker. Mostly because, like the bits I heard of her, like Durarara and some other stuff, she does like cute characters pretty well.
She's like half the little sisters in Fire Emblem Fates.
Yeah. So I figured that would work pretty well. And then for Kenya, I said Amanda Miller because I really like her little boy voice. It always sounds like really kind of confident and firm, so I figured that would work really well for Kenya.
All right.
Okay, and actually playing these two for Hiromi, we have Christine Marie Cabanos, and for Kenya, we have Erica Mendez.
How in the world did you get that, Andrew?
I literally was just thinking, Erica. I was thinking Hunter x Hunter, which is actually really funny that Erica Mendez is playing Kenya, because Kenya's more of a Killua type character in my mind, and Gon is playing a character like Killua, which is funny to me. Actually,
yeah, go on.
There's another thing I want to mention. Don't these two actually get to hit puberty at some point?
They do.
Yes, they do. All right. Okay, so going down the roles really quick. Christine Marie Cabanos is another name I'm kind of surprised we haven't mentioned before.
We've mentioned her before.
Wait. Oh. Have we?
I've talked about her a bunch in Danganronpa 3.
Okay, I didn't think I saw that one, so that's probably why. So you know her for roles such as Shemi Moriyama from Blue Exorcist, Bako Konchok from Kill la Kill,
Best girl,
as Sailor Saturn from the Viz redub of Sailor Moon, and of course Madoka Kaname from the Madoka Magica TV anime and films. And as for Erica Mendez, at this point, if you don't know who she is, you probably haven't been paying much attention to dubs recently.
That woman is a voice acting witch.
Some of her other roles include Aladdin from Magi the Labyrinth of Magic, Haruka Tenjo / Sailor Uranus from the Viz redub of Sailor Moon, Gon Freaks from Hunter x Hunter, Deanne from the Seven Deadly Sins, Nico from Love Live, and Ryuka Matoi from Kill la Kill. And then, on a quick side note, it's probably worth noting that we actually do get adult versions of these characters later on. And for adult Hiromi, we have Kyle McCarley. And for adult Kenya, we have Xander Bobus.
Joker
Kyle
himself.
Kyle McCarley, you know for roles such as Shinji Matoi from Fate Stay Night and Limited Blade Works, Dr. Ogura and Aji Demon Human, Mikazuki from Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans, and Mob from Mob Psycho 100. As for Xander Bobus, some of his roles include Sergei Streka from Tales of the Syria of the X, Sakurai from Mob Psycho 100, young Mamoru Uchiha from Naruto Shippuden, and then for all you JRPG fans out there, as Andrew just mentioned, he's the voice of the protagonist in Persona 5.
Yep. So, what should we? Who wants to go first about these characters, since we actually have things to say about these two?
I just want to point out that both of these characters, for Hiromi, I didn't think I was going to be getting too much out of it because Hiromi doesn't get as many lines as Kenya does, and it's kind of somewhat generic dialogue. It also kind of bugs me a little bit that in this whole setup of trying to prevent kids from getting killed, Satoru's main focus is, I want to protect Kayo, the kid I know nothing about, but I'm not so concerned about Hiromi, the person who I actually hung out with and considered to be a friend. Oh, it kind of bugged me a little bit.
I think it's because Kayo was first on a chopping block.
I don't know, but I think that was just a weakness in the writing. But anyway, Christine's Hiromi is well done. It's competent. It sounds like a girl because it's voiced by a girl. But I am bugged a little bit by the fact that they so obviously not only coded her gay in the not gay. I'm sorry, coded her female. I need words. I'm sorry. Coded him female in the animation, but by giving him a female voice actress as well, made it less of a, I don't know, less believable, because we never really find out if Hiromi's androgynousness is by choice or biology or what have you.
Okay, I mean, when we get to the adult version, I mean, he sounds pretty clearly like a dude, so...
And is married.
True.
With a
And
kid.
is married.
With a kid.
And procreated. That is true.
And procreated. Fun fact, when I first watched the show, I thought that was Kenya's kid.
Yeah, you would think, wouldn't you?
I thought that too.
But so, I guess that doesn't bug me so much because this is a character who doesn't have as much dialogue. I guess I'm just thinking, I want something a little more experimental. Could we get an actor who can play an androgynous child actor? And now I think about it, that pitch may be a little too difficult for any human being to pull off.
Okay. Hero, I like Christine Marie Cabanos a lot as an actress, and I think at the very least, with this particular character, while it was supposed to, they were all supposed to be little boys, so most of them didn't even know, what puberty was then, and they were still kind of growing and developing. Though I think Hiromi in general was just a more particularly, feminine-esque character, so the higher, more feminine style voice works for me with that character in my mind. Either way, I just think I like Christine's voice a lot, and that really helps sell me that Hiromi is precious and adorable and deserves a good plate of cookies. And, just is adorable. As for Erica Mendez as Kenya, I really like Erica Mendez as an actress, and I was particularly impressed with her as Kenya. She actually, mentioned this was, she's more accustomed to playing little boy roles before she got cast in things like Kill la Kill and Your Lie in April and Seven Deadly Sins, where she actually was cast as, the tomboys or the girly girls, which is interesting. This is going back to her roots. So she was very well equipped to do this, and I think she does great as Kenya.
I totally agree, and it was nearly unrecognizable to me because I'm not as familiar with her in her boy voices. I haven't watched Seven Deadly Sins or Hunter x Hunter yet, but mostly because not only is her timbre different from what I'm used to, but also her speech pattern is completely different from any of the other kids too. She's got this. It's almost like a rasp, but it's more of a how to describe it? It's just a very serious little boy voice. It's very fun to listen to.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with these two as well. God, I gotta find my notes.
Do you have anything negative to add to? Because we're just like praising all the wazoo here.
I gotta find out who took my notes. I gotta find out
Yeah.
who killed my friend.
Okay, yep, so as far as Hiromi goes, like, I had a really hard time believing that character was actually a little boy, so that Christine Marie Cavados did a darn good job on that one. As for Kenya, like, I really like how interesting of a character he turned out, because I like how at first you're kind of supposed to think he's, like, really shady or whatever, and then it kind of turns out, like, no, he's just a kid that's really mature for his age, and he's a very good boy that must be protected. And it was really interesting to see Erica Mendez in this kind of role because she's done her fair share of little boy voices at this point, but they're usually more like hyperactive, like your Gowns or your Aladdins. So seeing her play this more mature kid was kind of a nice little change of pace, and she did it pretty well. It also kind of made me wonder if this is what her Killua would have sounded like had she been Killua. But that didn't happen. But so this was pretty interesting.
I did really like Erica Mendez's portrayal as Kenya. I've heard her as little boys before, but this was sort of a different departure. Kenya is more of a laid-back type, whereas most of the other little boys, like Aladdin or I think Gon, are more excitable and playful. Kenya's just sort of got this laid-back attitude towards him. And as far as Christine, she doesn't really play little boys that often, so it was interesting hearing Hiromi be very, very effeminate and yet still be believable that he was actually male. And so I have to give props to them for their performances there. I also really think that when they do grow up, the two male actors did really respectable jobs. Like Hiromi with what's his name, Kama Carly's performance, you could tell that Hiromi was definitely masculine, but he still had sort of that boyish charm to him, even though he was grown up. And Kenya was still very much, was much more mature. He had a much deeper sounding to his voice. All in all, I think they did a really good job.
I agree.
11 out of 10 would crime fight again.
I hadn't actually thought about that it is a much more subdued male voice that Erica plays, because she's played a lot of eccentric kids. Like, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So next up, we have A Tale of Two Mothers. With best.
Okay.
We have Best Mom and Worst Mom with Sachiko Fujinuma and Akemi Hinazuki.
I want to get through mob predictions quick because I need to talk about who's casted as one of them.
Okay, so Sachiko is Satoru's mother who used to work as a reporter, and she's usually pretty good about looking out for her son, while Akemi is a super abusive mom who beats on her daughter Kayo constantly, and is basically just a really terrible person. So,
she is trailer trash.
Yep.
Quite literally.
Alright, so my predictions for these two, I was extremely lazy on these, actually.
Awesome.
For Sachiko, I said Wendy Lee, because...
I figured you would. I totally figured it.
Because when you need someone to play a mother figure in California stuff, you pretty much go to Wendy Lee. And for Akemi, I went equally lazy. I said Laura Post because Ragyu Kyuin.
I also said Laura Post because Ragyo Kiryuin. And as for Sachiko, I did not have a prediction. I just said, and I quote, "Whoever can make me feel funny." Down there.
Oh my.
I mean, look, do you see that woman? Do you see that woman?
Andrew, I know you have a thing for women with enlarged lips, but you have to stop.
Wait, what?
A woman who can cook good curry is not a viable form of a relationship.
I think Andrew just let his inner Oedipus out.
Wait, what? Wait, what does it have to do with the lips? She's just hot.
That was a character design feature that stuck out to me the most.
People in
same
this
here.
show actually have lips.
Actually, both the moms do. Like they have like noticeably larger lips than your average middle-aged woman do. Like usually middle-aged women get lines on their cheeks to indicate their age, but in this case they gave them fuller lips for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's just because all of A1 Pictures moms look the same. It was kind of nice to mix it up a little bit.
I think that's more of an A1 Pictures character design thing. But okay, we need to talk about who these people are because we need to.
Well, hold on. Put your spoon down, young man. You haven't given me a chance to speak yet.
I hate this family.
What were your predictions, Noah?
Okay, so again, you said you were lazy. I'm gonna be even lazier. So we did the Year Lion April episode a year ago, and we are going to bring back the exact same cast members to play the exact same characters in this one as well. So for Sachiko, I put Carrie Karanen, who was the ultra cool piano prodigy friend of the main character's mom in that show. Basically the same thing too. It's like stays the same age of like mid-20s level cool throughout her entire life. And you should know where this is going then, by that logic. Who do you think I put down as Kayo's mom?
Wendy Lee.
I put motherfucking Wendy Lee as abusive, bitch, I will cut you and then stuff your face in a bucket of ice water, Lee.
I do not, by the way, I'm just going to say this, I do not buy the fact that mother actually loved his kid. I don't buy that.
And you are right. You are probably right. Like, I know it's fiction and we can't bring her out here to interview, but I think you are right. I don't think she actually loved her kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Okay,
yes?
So getting into actual actors here. For Sachiko, we have Sarah Cravens. And for Akemi, we have Carrie Karanen.
Oh my god! Satsuki!
What?
Satsuki grew up and became radio!
Why didn't you? I was drinking orange apple juice when you said that. I was like, what? Carrie's the bad guy in this one? Who?
Looks like
made this?
Looks like she lost her way.
You know what? Okay, Hardy. I give you that one.
Thank you. I do have some use in this episode after all.
Okay, so Sarah Cravens is a pretty new face of anime, and this was actually her first role that I can tell. Her only other notable role was later on being Child Emperor in One Punch Man. Carrie Karanen, on the other hand, has been around for a very long time, and some of her other work includes Maya in Fate Zero, Maimi Tomoe from the Madoka Magica franchise, Casca from Berserk, and as Andrew so lovingly mentioned, Satsuki Kiryuin from Kill la Kill.
Satsuki, you pig in human clothing, Kiryuin. Holy shit.
Yeah. This was quite a trip.
Oh, mama. God damn.
Can we theorize that the mangaka had some parent issues when he was making the story?
Probably.
In regards to the fact that Akemi is basically a cartoon villain of an abusive parent, or the fact that Sachiko is so ridiculously perfect hot.
Sachiko is perfect hot, but unfortunately, I have been forced to watch a lot of Steve Wilkos in the past week because my wife found an app on the Roku TV called Nosy that lets you stream all of Steve Wilkos and Maury and Jerry Springer and all that good stuff.
Who's Steve Wilkos?
Exactly. You should keep it that way. It's a talk show where abusive people or people in like bad relationships can like vent their frustrations to a studio audience. And there were plenty of parents in that show who would fit in right at home with Akemi.
Ooh.
So when you say cartoon character, let me show you a whole bunch of cartoon characters in real life.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You
need to save me.
To reference, Andrew, you ever watch Jerry Springer?
I don't, and I feel
Have
better
you ever watched it before?
Yes.
Okay. You know the big bald security guard that was always there?
Yes.
That's Steve Wilkos. He actually got his own talk show.
Huh.
Yeah.
He is actually quite legit. Like, he doesn't try to fan the flame so much like Jerry did. He's more about talk down to the people, but he was a cop, if that gives you any indication.
Okay.
Before he was a security guard.
I see what you mean. Okay.
It's not
Yes.
his show isn't as off the wall crazy as Jerry's was, but yeah, it's still same kind of concept.
Gotcha.
Hardy, you just warm my heart that you actually know the pain I'm going through right now.
Right, yeah. It's probably because I used to watch Jerry Springer for entertainment back when I was a little kid, just to see how absolutely insane it was, but yeah.
That explains so much about the last 79 episodes. Or whatever episode we're on. I lost track.
We will be 80-something at this point. We're on the road to 100 episodes, and we're on the road to 1,000 subs. Help us get there. Like, favorite, and subscribe.
All right.
We try to do our job.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we reach 1,000 subs before the end of the month, I will watch all of Diabolic Lovers.
Do it.
Anyways, I think we need to get back on track.
Yes,
Yes,
okay,
please.
let's get back on track, please. All right, so I gotta say that for her first anime role, I was really impressed by Sarah Craven's performance. Like, she did a really great job of making his character very kind of down to earth, and I really thought her delivery was very natural, even during some of the more dramatic moments. So by all means, I really hope she gets more work because I was really impressed here.
I agree.
And yeah, and as for Carrie Kiernan, like it was really funny that she was cast in this one, and not just for the Satsuki thing, but also because this was probably like right after she was in Your Lie in April, where she was the good mom in that show.
Hubby. Look,
Well, she had her fair share of moments where she got a little abusive too.
look. I just gotta say, the hubby is a dubby song gets a lot less cute in this show.
Wash your ass.
Yep. So I gotta say, Carrie Kiernan, she made the character sound like a real deadbeat, and she gave it just the right amount of slime without making it sound too over the top. And I think it's definitely a plus because for the most part the show's kind of pretty grounded in that respect. And when it comes to the character herself, like, I kind of rolled my eyes at that whole, like, last-minute sob story. But I kind of agree with what Satoru...
Okay.
I kind of agreed with what Satoru thought, that it was probably mostly just an act.
In fairness,
But
in fairness, I do think that is a thing that does in fact happen. That's a
that's a thing that happens. I just don't think it really excuses anything.
I'm not saying it excuses it. I'm just saying I do believe that is in fact a thing that happened and would lead Akemi down that particular dark path.
And I think what roots Carrie's performance in this is so much is that she doesn't play like a cartoon character. She's got a little bit of a Boston accent, it sounds like at first, but it's that kind of it's like a terrifying voice of someone whose entire reason for raising a daughter is like out of inertia almost, and doesn't have any scrap of motherly affection at all, and it believable enough. Like you said, a cartoon character would absolutely ruin this role. Like if you had like I don't know, like some of the cartoon characters on the Boondocks who are like caricatures of stereotypes, or any other show on Adult Swim that we shouldn't mention ever again. This was not that. This was dramatic, scary, and almost sympathetic, if not for the fact that she was torturing an 11-year-old girl. Who throws an 11-year-old girl in the shed, for God's sakes?
I don't think the show really wants me to be sympathetic for the mother. I think the show at least wants me to understand the mother. I don't think I'm meant to agree or sympathize or say, woe was me, I get why you beat your daughter and never fed her. It's like, no, she's a piece of shit person, but I think I laugh because I can't take away the fact that Satsuki Kiryuin became the bad mother in this timeline, but I think Carrie's fucking fantastic when it comes to this, and I also agree that Sarah Craven's is really strong, and I'd like to see her in more things.
It's really easy to like over enunciate your words and feel like you're reading off of a script when you're ADRing something. And that's a mistake a lot of first timers make. And I was kind of worried she would do that when I found out that she was a newcomer. But no, she doesn't even sound like she's reading off of a script. She's pretty much just speaking. It's like I'm sitting in a bar next to her and she's telling me about how, hey kiddo, if you do I need to switch trains to get to a different town, or I want to go sightseeing.
Sarah did a really, really great job as as awesome mom in what was technically her first role. I'd like to hear a lot more of her, and she sounded really natural, and she's probably my favorite character in the entire show. And I've heard Carrie Kiernan lose it before. I've watched some of her older Media Blaster dubs, like even as Casca, when she's gotten a bit in the crazy mode. So we can always count on her to just put a really, crazy, out there, angry performance. So that was really nice.
Satsuki is composed anger, but yeah, I see your point.
Mm-hmm. That really surprised me that Carrie's been around this long, because I'm just now noticing the shows that she's been in. I'm like, wow, I needed to pay way more attention to Media Blaster dubs.
Mm-hmm. I don't feel too bad. I haven't seen any of those dubs either.
Well, I mean, she was in Berserk.
Yeah, I knew she was in Berserk, but that was basically it.
By the way, can we talk about the fact that, like, she was basically doing exclusive physical therapy for 15 years?
It's dedication,
Like, I'm pretty sure if I was at that point, I'm pretty sure the plug would have been pulled a few years prior.
Andrew, don't worry. If you go into a coma, we promise to pull the plug if you're not awake in 5 years.
Yeah, no, I'll pretty much pull it in 5 months.
Wow! It's good to know I matter so much.
I could just see it now. We're all standing around the hospital bed, all 13 of us, and Hardy goes to pull the plug, and he's looking at us like, isn't anyone going to stop me? And we're like, yeah, honestly.
Look. We could feel bad, or we could go get wings. That's Hardy.
Yeah, hey, it's Thursday night, but 60 cents.
It's Thursday night. I have no time for you being dead. Okay.
Boneless wings wait for no one.
Oh god.
Now keep in mind, if he's dead, that's one less person to split the bill with.
Okay, this got fucking dark, and we're talking about abusive parents
who don't feed people.
Oh god.
Yep, all right.
Who don't?
I'm sure Kayo would love some boneless wings.
Please feed Kayo boneless wings. She deserves it. She's a good girl.
Yep.
All right, forget
okay.
the boneless wings. Just feed her something more than a cup of ramen, for God's sakes.
Yeah. All right. Okay. It looks like things got pretty dark here.
Yeah.
Okay. Things got pretty dark here, so we'll lighten things up a bit as we get into some of our major characters. First up, we have Airi Katagiri. Airi is a high schooler who works at Satoru's part-time job and decides to help him while he's on the lam after she gets to know him a little bit better. So, any predictions for Airi?
Yeah, it's funny you said that we're going to lighten things up a little bit, because lighten things up a little bit is also what happens to Airi's house.
Oh, you walked into that one.
Okay, yeah, I can't be mad at that. That was perfect.
That was quite the burn you gave us, Noah.
Oh.
Okay, and now you ruined it, Hardy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's okay, you smoke them if you got them.
Yeah.
You and your dad jokes, sir.
I'm fired, aren't I?
All right, so again, any predictions for Airi?
Airi really sets my heart aflame.
Shut up!
Nah, she's adorable.
Did you have a prediction, Andrew?
Who did I have? I think I had Erika Harlacher for this one, actually.
Harlocker.
Harlocker, is that how you say it?
Yeah. Hey, Jet, can I borrow your fedora real quick?
Oh, god damn it. You're doing this bit?
Yes.
Fucking...
Yes. Let me put on my fedora real quick. Well, actually... Yes, it is pronounced Harlocker.
Python character.
Okay,
Yes.
Erika Harlacher.
Right.
If it makes you feel better, Andrew, I mispronounced it earlier too. So I'll take that fedora as well.
Okay, well, it's funny you mentioned her because I had another Erika down here. I said Erika Lindbeck.
Another fair choice.
Okay, mostly because, again, this was, like, right after Your Lie in April, and I really liked the performance in that show. So I kind of want to see her do another energetic teenage girl.
Mm-hmm.
That would work. Tell you what, I will top you. I will go with one energetic female actress and top you with another one. Kira Buckland.
Yeah, I can see it.
I can see that.
The one that caught me the most, or that reminds me the most, is she plays the main character in Lagrange, The Flower of Rene, and she's also got this like peppy, over the top, way too optimistically happy to help convicted criminals out than she probably should be, which is pretty much the same thing as she played in Lagrange as well.
Is Lagrange the one that has that scene that's really fucked up that nobody talks about, or is that another mecha show?
No,
You're
that's
gonna have to be
Valvrave.
a lot more specific.
No, definitely not Lagrange.
Okay,
You're thinking of
I can
Valvrave.
describe
I'm thinking
a lot of
Valvrave.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you are. No, Lagrange is it's kind of fan service heavy.
It's
mostly
it's robots and
it's-
lesbians.
it's
Yeah,
basically what
basically.
happened when who made that? Was it Production IG who made that one?
It was Production IG and Zemek because
Yeah,
they're
okay.
both
Basically,
pretty much the
Production
same.
IG needed a paycheck.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's robots and lesbians, basically.
Yep. Okay, so actually playing Airi, we have Jeremy Lee. And Jeremy Lee is another voice actress whose work pretty much stretches into infinity. And some of her notable roles include Sarada Uchiha from the Boruto movie, Minaka Aido / Sailor Venus from the Viz redub of Sailor Moon, Lucy Hartfilia from Fairy Tail for anyone going through the year of Fairy Tail right now, and of course Asuna from Sword Art Online.
You know what I've come to realize about Jeremy? I love her as an actress, but she plays the biggest, like, 50-50 of characters I love and characters I despise. It's kind of fascinating. Because for every Makoto Nijima, there's a Mika Shimotsuki. It's really
doesn't-
funny.
But she doesn't play them badly. You just don't like the way the characters are written, right?
I love her voice, but Mika Shimotsuki is the fucking worst ever! Ever!
And Asuna ain't much better, to be perfectly honest.
Asuka's fine, she's just light novel lead girl.
That's true. I can't get a hate on for Asuna. She doesn't do anything wrong.
And Lucy's great, the show just treats her dirty.
So how does the show treat her in this show?
I think the
That we're
show
supposed to talk
forgets
about.
that she's a character half the time, and or it kind of I'll say this. This show has what I think a trouble with finding its lead heroine ? Because there's like, you've got the mother, you've got Kayo, and you've got Airi. And outside of the mother, all of them are like a lot younger than, like, this isn't a romantic show at all. It is a pure on drama. I just know when it comes to like discussions of pairings back when the show was a thing, that led to some odd conversations, so to speak.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Which is why I'm kind of glad with how the show actually ends on that respect.
I appreciate it too, but there's something I gotta bring up later. Anyways, Airi as Jeremy Lee as Airi. Jeremy is fantastic as Airi. She's bubbly but serious when she needs to punch a manager in the fucking face. But she's a good person. Wants to believe in her friends. Wants to believe wants to believe in people. And I really like that she does bestow this hope and confidence in this guy who is down and broken. And I really enjoy her.
This role is like pretty much Jeremy Lane, her usual element, and she does a pretty solid job here. Like, she's always been really good at playing teenage girls, and she definitely brings a lot of energy to the performance. I mean, there wasn't like too much here that really stood out to me compared to some of her other teen girl roles, but she's always really good at those, and I really like this character. Her backstory was kind of a little bit melodramatic, but I found her pretty endearing, and I really liked her dynamic with Satoru. And I thought her optimism kind of played off pretty well against his more cynical nature. So I mean, it wasn't quite like my standout role here, but I was really happy with Jeremy Lee, and I'm always up for hearing her and stuff.
Yeah, I really like Jeremy Lee in this role as well. It's a typical Jeremy Lee role, which is not necessarily a bad thing. She captures Airi's innocence and sort of energy really, really well, and I think it was a very good performance.
Jet you said that you wouldn't call this the standout or your favorite performance in the cast, right?
Yeah, I liked it a lot, but it wasn't like my big standout here.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I put it at the top either. That's a high pedestal to put, but it's definitely close. It's either second or third for me, mostly because we'll talk about this a little more when we get to him. But Satoru's motivation doesn't quite, like, he doesn't seem to quite have a motivation. Like, he doesn't have a backstory or something that like drives him to do what he does. But we have one specifically for Airi. And it was good that Cherami kind of captured the dimensions of that, as you peg her for just being this bubbly, optimistic girl with dreams. But we get a little further into her, and she also captures the justice feeling side of her, that mentality of, I would feel terrible if I was accused of stealing a candy bar, and I lost my job and my wife over it, and I wouldn't want to see that happen to anyone ever again. So that explains why she's got this upbeat mentality, which no one else in the cast has. She's the only one, maybe aside from Sachiko, who has a sense, who like instills our main character with a sense of why you need to put yourself on the line to save the lives of others.
Also, remember, her story was in Japan, in the sticks, where everybody knew everybody. So it's like, if you were, like, suddenly rumors went around that you were, in fact, like, a thief and a liar, that spreads quickly. So the fact that he stuck to his guns and everybody kept circulating that he was a liar and stuff probably messed with him and that dynamic a lot, too.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's probably true.
All right. But we don't have that a lot. We don't have that sense of fighting, of sticking up for yourself in the name of just because you've got a good moral compass to it. Like, a lot of people would cave and say, yeah, sure, I took that candy bar. I'm sorry. Here's the money back. Can we just be pals again, even though you didn't actually do it?
That's something I would never do. It's just, I get the logic. But I am the type of person where it's like, I would want to resolve something quickly. That's just me.
And that... Well, either way, Cherami did a great job on this one, and I'm really glad that she fills a niche in the cast that no one else had. The optimistic, bubbly, believable source of moral compass, I guess. And it's just kind of a shame that, like you said, we don't quite have a focus on who's the main heroine. But the way that the story jumps around, I think it's okay. Like, she's used just as much as she needs to be.
I'm actually told she does more in the manga, but I know nothing about the manga.
Yeah, I mean, I thought she was pretty well utilized here for like what she was given.
What's a mango?
I don't know. I think it's like something.
It's related to Animu.
oh yeah. That's those Chinese cartoons, right?
Right.
All right.
Okay. Alright, so we're moving on, and...
Is it time for me to get my gloves?
And your spray bottle?
It's time... Yep, now it's time to come... It's time to come to Gaku Yashiro.
A.K.A. the single most controversial thing in this show. By a mile.
Yep, okay, so... Yashiro is Satoru's friendly elementary school teacher who... helps him in trying to get Kai away from her abusive mother, and for a while he's the closest thing Satoru has to a father figure. And big spoilers in 3, 2, 1, he's the serial killer.
And he was Luke's father. And they were on Earth the whole time.
It's one of those things where the reveal of him being the thing was the moment I realized, and many other people realized, this isn't really a mystery. Because this mystery's pretty weak.
Yeah.
Everyone saw it coming a mile away, honestly. It's after a while it becomes pretty obvious.
That's why when he was in the car by himself, it's like, you are a 29-year-old man, I know you respect this guy, but at some point you're like, okay, kid, you're smarter than this, actually.
Alright. So did anyone have any predictions for Yashiro?
A dickhead.
What about you, Noah?
Right. A dick. Let's see. Well, we're going off that logic. Okay. So I put Dick Cheney as the one who's going to voice him. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, let's put an actual prediction in there. What about Spike Spencer? Why? I feel he could do Crazy Man.
He can. Yes, he can. Okay, that's your official prediction.
That is, as of... Honestly, my official prediction for this character was go fuck yourself. So let's put something in there.
Excellent. Go fuck yourself at nevergonnabeseeingYouAgain.com. Awesome. So, speaking of that, when you think of total asshole characters who have been in Bang Zoom dubs in the past couple of years, there is one in particular that comes to mind, and he is... Let's see, he is, well, let's just say that he loves humanity, but he is an asshole to
Oh my
the characters
God.
in Ra Ra Ra.
Oh.
So,
You're
he is an
Oh,
yes,
boy.
Andrew, yes. We are going back in time to the number one asshole who ever set foot in Japan. It is Johnny Young Boss.
Okay, to be fair to Yashiro, technically he is not as big an asshole as Izaya, because when you technically think about it, he doesn't actually kill people in the other timeline.
He would have if that girl had jumped off the bridge and if Celti wasn't there to save her.
Okay, no. I'm saying Yashiro didn't kill people.
Yashiro had already killed in other cities before moving there.
Oh, did he?
So he had a body count.
Okay, that's the part I didn't remember, actually, yeah.
And even so, you know, if we're working in time travel logic, he still gets a couple of life sentences for prior time travel. Time travel is weird. This whole show's time travel is weird.
You need the
But
Time Baby from, is Time Baby from Gravity Falls or regular show?
I
think
do
that's
not
from
remember.
Sorry, I fell out of watching Gravity Falls, so I don't remember if that's the one it's from, but I don't think it's from regular show.
You should watch that. Anyways, Yashiro is a shithole.
And I love you, Johnny, so much, and everything you've done is, well, everything you've voiced is fantastic, and I couldn't think of anybody else who could possibly play this asshole than you, sir. Please don't hurt me.
Izaya deserved everything that was coming for him, and even then, it's still too good for him.
He didn't get nearly as bad of a punishment as he deserved.
Oh,
Yeah,
God, yeah.
Okay, so speaking of pricks, I went with a similar route to yours, except I wasn't thinking Izaya. I was thinking everyone's favorite prick, Dio Brando. So of course I said Patrick
Oh my God.
Sykes.
Oh my God, this would have been so fun if that was Dio.
You thought it was the mom who killed them, but it was Dio.
You thought it was Yuki, but it was Yashiro.
Oh God!
Real talk.
Someone paint that now.
Real talk, I feel Dio would actually be great in politics.
So bad.
Like,
Maybe he is. We'll never know.
he takes a politician for a ride. Literally.
Yes, he does.
So Jet, we had 3 great guesses from us. Clearly, one of those must have been the guy who voices the main villain of the show, right?
Okay, nope. Playing Yashiro, we have David W. Collins, who appears to be another relatively new name on the scene. His only other named anime role that I could find was Spring Mustachio in One Punch Man, and I'm pretty sure that was recorded after this dub.
Mm-hmm.
So for all intents and purposes, it seemed that this was like his first big break. So, what do we think of his performance?
I just want to point out that, yes, this is his first anime role, but he's done a lot of stuff for Star Wars.
Yeah, I know he had like a lot of video game roles.
I think they actually reveal what it is on his BehindTheVoiceActor. I think he actually has a job at LucasArts.
Oh, wow.
He must, because his entire pre-anime credits are basically all Star Wars based.
I'm going to look that up right now behind the voice. Give me a second.
In the meantime, Hardy, what do you think about David Newcomer Collins as skis bag, candy munchin, child freezing, I'm running out of adjectives, McGee?
He was definitely the killer the first moment I saw him. And he plays, earlier in the show, he plays the sort of paternal figure that's, you trust him, but there's something kind of off about him that you can tell. And later on, when he goes full on crazy, he does it rather well to where it's just not like he's jumping up and down and twirling his mustache. No, it's something very unsettling about it. I really appreciate it. You know, you could tell he was out there, but he was still composed. He was still very methodical. He knew what he was doing. So yeah, I think he did a really good job at that aspect.
Also, I have the fact that he is the lead sound designer and voice director with LucasArts.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Okay. So as for me, like, all right. Okay. So I had a lot of problems with this character. Like, the show got a little bit heavy-handed in some areas, like some of the bits with Kayo's mom and Airi's backstory. But for the most part, the show was pretty grounded. And then we got to Yashiro's reveal as a killer, and it was about 7 minutes of just pure, unadulterated anime. Like, and
I'll be honest. Like, it was clear that there was some sort of unspoken supernatural element in this show, and I think Gaku Yashiro kind of forced that in your face to remember that was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not even unspoken. The man can literally go back in time. And so the supernatural elements had been in there since episode 1. So, yeah, the man sees spider threads above people's heads that forces him to kill them. But, I mean, is that really such a big surprise? If Satoru can go back in time?
I mean, honestly, I don't know if the spider thread thing was supposed to be like an actual power, if that was just like his insanity.
I think it might have just been like insanity or something. I think the thing that was kind of weird, like, if it was just like if it was just an urge, like this was somebody who is just a killer at heart urge, like, which in a way that kind of is his deal, but then it's like he sort of went crazy and saw these threads and thought, it is my sworn duty to kill these people, is a little bit odd.
It's more like a coping mechanism because when people have
isn't it more justification?
Urges or tics, it kind of is, but okay, it's following me on this rabbit trail. People who have urges or tics to do things that we may see as like unnatural, and that person themselves knows that they're unnatural, will tend to psychologically create a justification for it. So yes, you're right, it's justification. Even if it's something that's completely out there as bonkers, like they could say something like, it's in my manifest destiny, or talking two-legged dog told me to do this. Just like, in a sense of why you do this, I did not find the spider thread thing to be so far out there. It was like in line with his craziness to begin with, and anyone who agrees to be an elementary school teacher already has to be kind of crazy.
Okay. I'm sorry. You want to go first?
Yeah. I'll continue my thoughts really quick. Like, okay, like, so just continuing, I mean, I know he was a serial killer, but, and there was only so much subtlety you could really kind of give that kind of character. But I mean, I thought it kind of had to be a slightly better way of revealing him. But all that said, I really like David Collins' performance. Like as Hardy was saying earlier, he did a really good job in those early episodes of sounding like like a more typical paternal figure, like very mature, but some things like not quite right about him. And then when we got to that reveal about who he actually is, like, I really appreciated that, like, instead of just going full on ham, there's just more like a mild shift in his voice, like just this extra little bit of menace that makes him sound scarier.
I was worried that they were going to go more cartoonish on that reveal. So I agree with you. I'm so glad that they didn't make him too menacing.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like one thing that really got me in particular was like the monologue he did at the start of episode 11, where he's just kind of giving like this really eerie explanation of all his motivations, and he's just going on and on and out of it, and it's like, and I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you, Satoru. And then, like, when he just says that last Satoru bit, I, like, literally jumped back in my seat.
Oh, like, I was enjoying David Collins, and it's like, that was one of those things, I remember thinking that was interesting in the sub. I'm glad they kept that in, and I think that was the moment I was actually sold on David Collins, when he did that was you, Satoru. I'm like, ooh, and like, especially when he's when he's a lot older, he sounds very distinctly different enough that it's like, I almost thought it was a different actor, but it was the same person, and he pulled off the same kind of unsuspecting but legitimate menace, and like when he does have that realization at the final moment, I thought, regardless how you think of that scene or whether you think it's stupid or dumb or not, I thought he was fantastic in that.
Okay, yep. So the last thing I'll say about David Collins is he is now my number one pick for Yoshigaki Kira in the eventual Diamond is Unbreakable dub.
Yes! Yes!
Okay.
Noah, did you have anything to say?
When I was first hearing this dub, I didn't think it was David Collins. For a second, I thought it was actually Jeff Bennett under an alias because his normal speaking voice in the classroom sounded very much like Jeff Bennett's Midwestern speaking voice. And for those of you who don't know, Jeff Bennett's an American voice actor who's done everything under the sun. He's mostly known for doing nice background characters. Like he's Johnny Bravo. He's the man in the yellow hat in Curious George. He's the announcer guy for Korra, the Legend of Korra. So I was really surprised to find out that it was actually a different guy altogether. And like you said, Jet, the shift in his voice from very passe, kind of nondescript background character to menacing character is so subtle and so believable in his acting that I was honestly surprised he hasn't done more voice acting before.
I'm now imagining Johnny Bravo as the teacher, and I hate you so much right now.
Do the worker with me. Come on. Hey there, baby.
Get in my car. Here, have some
911.
candy.
Hello, 911 emergency. There's a handsome guy in my tool shed right now. Oh, wait a second. That's just me.
Also this dead girl, but you don't need to know about that. I'm pretty.
Well, so this actor made to the character. One question. I'm sorry, just one quick question. In the Japanese, do you guys remember in the Japanese if Yashiro had a lower or a higher voice?
I think it was actually pretty similar to what David Collins is.
It was pretty similar, but I think it was a little bit hammier.
I think it was a little bit
yeah.
hammier too. Actually, now that I think about it.
Okay, yeah, because it was less normal sounding to me in the Japanese, so it made it, less of a red herring, like that he was the killer. It's like, oh, of course he's the killer. Listen to that voice.
Okay.
So I appreciate that David made it less believable. If you had never seen the show before, you may not suspect that he's the bad guy.
But the directions is pretty fucking obvious. Like, there's some cutaways.
Unless you're actually paying attention to the direction.
Yep.
I direct us, Jet, over to the next character.
So yep. And counting down to our main characters. First up, we have Kayo Hinazuki. Sayo was one of Satoru's classmates in elementary school and a victim of child abuse at the hands of her mother. She was also one of the serial killer's original victims, and she's Satoru's primary motivation for wanting to change his past, well, aside from the whole clearing his name thing.
A little side note. Why'd you say Sayo and not Kayo?
Oh, God. I typed the name wrong. I'm so mad. Yes, okay, so, yeah, ignore everything I just said. It's Kayo.
Hardy, can you hand me that fedora, please?
Yes.
No, I'm
Here,
the one that
you
should be
go.
wearing that fedora.
No, I'm gonna do even worse. Worst pronunciation ever.
Heyo.
I kid, Jet. Proceed.
That's okay, so any predictions for Kayo?
I had, for my prediction, a warm, fluffy cinnamon bun.
Who can act?
Who can act?
Oh, okay. I had the same thing too, actually, because I had Stephanie Shea. No, actually, there is a reason for that. It's because I know Stephanie. Like a lot of people may think of her as a Sailor Moon or as like ditzier characters, but that's not the character that came to mind when I first saw Kayo on the screen. I first saw Akira from Lucky Star, the character from the Lucky Channel segments, who has this bitchy attitude. It's so fun to watch.
Wait, that's Stephanie Shea?
That's Stephanie Shea.
I didn't know that, actually. Okay.
Andrew's just getting like a butt ton of lessons here.
But I'll say this. I do agree that Stephanie Shea does have a lot of variety that I know from other roles, but that's aside the point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's why I made that prediction.
Okay, as for me, I said considerably Morris because, like, I had just recently watched the Toradora dub, and I really, really loved the performance in that show. And she was also kind of a very troubled child, so I figured she would do a good job here.
And she also calls her male lead an idiot a couple of times.
Yeah, that is very true.
Mm.
Okay, and as for who is actually playing Kayo, Noah was right on that one. It is Stephanie Sheh. And
Hey, I'm 1 for 20.
yep, and Stephanie Sheh's name at this point is about as synonymous with anime as you can get. And some of her other work includes Elreka from Eureka 7. God, I really hate that pronunciation. Orihime Inoue from Bleach. Hinata Hyuga from Naruto. Nui Harime from Kill la Kill. Eliasville von
She's in Fate.
Heinsberg
She's in Fate.
in the Fate franchise. And the new voice of Usagi Tsukino, aka Sailor Moon, in the Viz redub of Sailor Moon. Okay, well, you already kind of gave your thoughts a little bit, Noah, but did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I'm just glad that we were able to change her fate in this show, too.
I hate you so much.
Stop throwing coconut. Ow, stop. They're supposed to be rotten fruit. Ow. Stop throwing bricks. All right.
All right. So
Stephanie's got the tough task of having to go through a whole spectrum of a girl, in that she starts out with this cold, reserved persona of a very abused little girl, and has to then warm up by the end of the series without sounding like a total role reversal. She's really good at it. I was really surprised by it. It's not the kind of acting that's I guess we see a lot in anime, where a character has like a subtle shift in personality, and I really appreciate Stephanie's dedication to making this character as believable as possible.
Yeah. It's funny how you say that she gradually warms up, considering she's basically, the way she's murdered originally is that she's frozen to death.
Oh, you okay? Oh, okay. Yo, I wasn't gonna say it, but okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
terrible.
But anyways, yeah, you can definitely see that she starts out as this very cold, stoic, very reserved, quiet little girl, and as the show goes on, as she's treated more and more kindly, you do see the color appear back in her cheeks, and like a warmthness develops around her. And then at the very end, she's fully grown with a husband and child, and she's just like the sweetest little young woman ever. And so you can I definitely appreciate Stephanie's ability to make that transition throughout the 12 episodes of the series.
I'm particularly
You want to protect. You want to protect her.
No.
He also want to attack.
No, yes, I do want to protect Kayo because she's adorable and she needs some food. Damn it, no. But I was going to say I'm actually very impressed with Stephanie Sheh. I'm not the type of person that thinks she can only do moe, orihime, or hinata. I've seen the things that she can pull off in characters like Tharja from Fire Emblem and Mikan Tsumiki from Danganronpa. I know she's got some impressive versatility and range, but this is particularly impressive because it is, as you mentioned, it's like a smorgasbord of a lot of different vocal performances in the much more like quieter, like I don't give a crap about you, to gradually like warming up, dealing with their own things, going emotional and really happy and really upset. There's a lot going on that she brings to the table, and I'm very impressed in Stephanie. Even then, she is not my favorite performance in this show. I still think she is fantastic, though, and while it seemed like when I saw the name, I was like, oh, okay, Stephanie as Kayo, okay, that makes sense, but I'm very happy that she is playing this character, because she's fantastic.
It doesn't help that her she doesn't quite have as many lines to like exude as much emotion, so when people say, like, if you said that she's not your favorite performance in the whole thing, do you think she might have been if she had like more dialogue to emote with?
No. That doesn't have anything to do with it. I really enjoy her character and actress. That's not me saying I didn't like her because she didn't speak enough. That's a fallacy.
No. Okay. Oh, okay. Just So, sometimes people who don't get enough screen time sometimes get the shaft a little bit. But okay, just theorizing there.
Look, this character spends several episodes getting, I'm trying to think of the phrase to use. A knuckle sandwich. Let's go with knuckle sandwich.
That is what she's served on a daily basis.
Alright, okay, so I gotta say that for a while there, I honestly almost couldn't tell it was Stephanie Sheh. Like, I mean, I know it's not her first time doing more reserved characters. I mean, Oreka is kind of one of her more iconic anime roles. But I've gotten so used to her doing peppy characters that seeing her do this sort of thing kind of took me for a loop a little bit. And she really sold it for me. Like, she did a really great job of portraying this clearly broken little girl. And she did a great job of making the character sound distant, but not to the point where it felt like really unnatural or unbelievable. And like you guys said before, I really appreciated like the little shift in her emotions, like how her voice softens when she starts opening up more to Satoru. Like, that was a really nice little touch that kind of really added to the performance for me. And when you're dealing with something as serious as child abuse, being able to depict those kind of subtle changes is like a really huge plus for me. So I really got to give props to both her and for how Alex Von David directed her here, because it's a kind of approach I'm not really used to from Stephanie Sheh or like from dubs in general, but I was really very impressed with how she did here. And honestly, had this been streaming before last year's W Awards, I would have probably given her the Black Magic Voice Acting Award. Because boy, howdy, she really got the character on this one.
But by the way, unrelated thing, I'm totally cool with the fact that like she got with Hiromi and like they have a family, because it's like the reality is that the end goal was her to live and be happy. I guess I can understand like the misconstruction of that being like a romantic attachment or something like that with Satoru when they're kids, but
yeah, like honestly, had they did that, it would have been kind of creepy.
But we can talk about that a little more when we get to Satoru.
I just find it funny that it's Hirumi and her. For some reason in my mind, I feel like it would have been worse if it was her and Kenya. I don't know why.
Like, I seriously kept thinking it was her and Kenya. Like, I honestly didn't notice it until you guys said something.
No, I agree. I do think that if it was Kenya and her, that would have been the lazy, easy thing to do, but the writer was a little smarter than that and made it the emotional character who actually, like, could probably be a more supportive husband, because if you've got a wife who has been through that kind of abuse, you have got to be some kind of emotional grandmaster.
Like, I don't know, it just I feel like that would have made Kenya look a lot worse in hindsight in my mind. Unrelated, Stephanie Sheh, she's great. Perfect.
Well, Kenya's got a few problems as a country, but we won't hold that against it.
Oh my god, you fucker.
Alright, so did anyone have any other thoughts, or are we ready to move on?
I think we're ready to move on, Jet.
Okay, so now we finally come to our lead character, Satoru Fujinuma. Okay, so Satoru is a down-on-his-luck writer who has a power known as Revival that allows him to relive tragic events, so he has a chance to undo them, and when he gets framed for his mother's murder, he uses this ability to try and go back in time to stop the killer before he can harm the people he cares about. So, did anyone have any predictions? Well,
what?
I hope you guys did.
I had one for each. I had... Actually...
Yes, it's probably worth mentioning that for this character, he is actually split into two different voice roles, because we have one for the 10-year-old version of him and one for the 29-year-old adult.
Okay, actually, I'm wrong. I have two for adult Satoru, and I have one for child Satoru. For child Satoru, Christina V, because I'm thinking Killua. For adult Satoru, I had Max Middleman and Lucian Dodge. Max Middleman because he's sort of become like a very impressive leading man with a lot of versatility and range in his acting ability, and Lucian Dodge is also the same, but I want to see him in more roles.
What has Lucian Dodge done in the past? I don't recognize that name.
I think it's pronounced Lucian, actually.
Lucian.
He's Waver Velvet.
He's Waver Velvet. He's actually like the other guy in Charlotte, which we will discuss at a later date. And he's now also recently. Oh wait, no, we're doing an episode on this. We'll talk about it later. Anyways,
He's in Spoiler, and he's Spoiler in Spoiler, but he's most Spoiler known as Spoiler in Spoiler.
Yo, dog, we heard you like spoilers, so we put spoilers inside your spoilers to really spoil you.
Ah, spoil you, man.
I can't believe
Yeah.
Lucian Dodge is the best actor in Redacted.
As for me, I went the incredibly lazy route with young Satoru, and I said Erica Mendez. Okay, and as for adult Satoru, I said either Robbie Damon or Ben Diskin because, like, when I was listening to the Seiyu, he had, like, a kind of very deep voice. Like, not, like, super deep, but kind of, like, very kind of, like, grounded and stoic. So I thought Robbie Damon or Ben Diskin would be a good choice for that.
Yeah, the Japanese actor definitely has that droll voice to it, which...
Yes, and it's actually kind of interesting because, like, it's one little aside I learned later, but apparently, like, that guy isn't even, like, an actual voice actor. Like, he does live action stuff mostly.
He's a stage.
And they got, they got him specifically for this show.
So that's why he sounds so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, alright. I can dig it. Alright. So I'm going to combine the two of you's lazy people together and be lazy squared. Because for young Satoru, I also said Erica Mendez for the exact same reasons that you were thinking, Jet. That being the fact that she's a fantastic actress and can do no wrong. And I also put Max Middleman as the adult character because he's a good lead man for Bang Zoom dubs. Mostly also, as pitch-wise, I know that he's probably best known for having a younger, higher voice for as far as male actors go. But he also, in Your Lie in April, he had a little scene where he played the Black Cat. And that voice was more of a lower... gravelier sound to it. So I thought, okay, well, Max clearly has a little bit more range than we've seen in his big roles. So maybe this will be a chance for him to stretch his chops with playing a lower voice character.
Yeah, I totally could see that had that happened. But actually playing Satoru. For young Satoru, we have Michelle Ruff. And for adult Satoru, we have Ben Diskin. Michelle Ruff has been in voice acting for probably about as long as I've been alive.
Since the dawn of time, Michelle Ruff has been playing young mistresses and boys in distress.
So some of her notable work includes Fujiko Mine from the Lupin franchise, Ruki Akutsuki from Bleach, Airi Sonohara from Durara, Yoko Littner from Gurren Lagann, Luna in the Viz redub of Sailor Moon, and Monica Mukaido in Alone in the Sea. Ben Diskin has also been around for quite a bit, though his name's only gotten bigger in recent years. And some of his other work includes Sai in Naruto Shippuden, Death Gun in Sword Art Online, Ash Roller in Excel World, Bon in the Seven Deadly Sins, Kadio Takarada in Kill la Kill, and Best JoJo Joseph Joestar from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Season 1.
You're forgetting his most important anime performance. Nigel Uno from Kids Next Door, which I can finally...
And in Kids Next Door...
he's number 2, right?
Yeah,
he's 1 and 2.
I feel it's important to mention that because when you really think about it, him going back in time is basically a Kids Next Door operation.
I'm kind of surprised they never did write that into the show. Like, go back in time and, like, kill the first adult ever and, like, stop adults from ever being created.
But then you'd have no children if there was no adult. That is the oxymoron.
Yeah, yes, but, like they could, like, write it in, like, okay, kids become adults because they grow up, but that's not natural. An adult planted that into the DNA of all kids so that they would grow up.
But
anyways, that's way off
Mr.
time.
Ben Diskin is now playing a shitty, broken down adult. How does he sound?
Yes, you're right.
Okay, I definitely want to go last on this one.
Okay. Can I take the floor briefly for this? I really like Ben Diskin as an actor, but I definitely think I've seen him in a lot more eccentric, kind of crazy, zany characters in a lot of other performances, especially ones you've listed, or the sort of light-hearted side man. This is where he's playing something a lot more low-key and quiet, which is not what I usually associate Ben Diskin with. And It's not that I doubted that he could pull this off, it's that I've never really heard him go that route. And honestly, he's fucking fantastic. Everything he brings to the table with Satoru when he's like doing his inner monologues or going into revelations about the past, he's got some fantastic moments. He's like when he's freaking out, when he realizes he's cornered, when he's kind of getting those really emotional beats. He's fantastic. He is the best dub. He is the best performance in the show in my mind. He is Ben Diskin is the best dub in the show.
he is no longer a person. He is now nothing but a wave file.
I believe that Ben Diskin could pull off Kayo.
I know what you're going to say, Andrew. You're going to say that Ben Diskin is the best voice actor ever.
Ben Diskin is the best voice actor ever. Oh!
But yeah, segueing into that, I have to agree that Ben was absolutely fantastic in this role, and for every single reason that Andrew had to say. And I'd like to segue into Michelle's performance as young Satoru, because believe it or not, I cannot remember us ever actually speaking of Michelle Ruff on our show until just recently. She really hasn't popped up in a lot of the dubs that we've reviewed, despite her being in the industry so very long. And one thing I would like to bring up is that I've always sort of had a kind of love-hate relationship with Michelle's voice on certain roles. Sometimes when she speaks, it sounds a lot like she's reading off the script. Yeah, underpants, exactly. Yeah. Underpants.
I feel like I'm missing some context here.
No, I've always...
Hardy, don't tell him. Do not tell him.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to tell you. You have to find out on your own. No, I've always made the joke that Michelle Ruff is at her best when she's voicing little girls, robots, or little robot girls. But one thing we've never really noticed is how well she can actually voice little boys. When she's done it before in the dubs for Blaze Blue, and also she was Baby Lelouch in Code Geass, and not a lot of people realize that. I actually really, really, really dig her young boy voice. And I think that she is probably second to Ben Diskin. She's probably my second favorite performance in this dub, because she has sort of a more natural sound to her when she voices a little boy than when she voices pretty much anyone else, because she does have this sort of, I am going to read this line right off the page when she's voicing like anyone else, but when she voices a little boy, for some strange reason, it just works. And so yeah, she's probably one of my favorite performances in the entire...
I kind of agree with you in terms of Michelle Ruff. They both get a lot to work with and play off of each other, and they both work really well. She sounds like a very believable little kid, and very believable little boy. And she pulls off she gets to pull a lot of the heavy weight, because when Ben Diskin is like speaking in his mind, she's the one that's really doing the actual action for the majority of the show. So she's got a lot to do, and she does a lot of those scenes really well. When she's flustered, when she's really concerned, when she's ready to pop a motherfucker in the face, it's really good.
One thing, going off on what you were speaking of, is when their roles are reversed at the end of the show.
I was about to mention that, actually. That's great.
Yeah, is that he goes into a coma for 15 years, so when he wakes up, he's still pretty much a kid mentally. And so then Ben has been doing the narration this entire time. Then the narration switches over to Michelle, and she's narrating his child voice in his grown-up body. And it's just... what really impressed me about the show, despite all its flaws, is how well the narration aspect was done throughout the series.
That was honestly one of my favorite parts.
And so, yeah, Ben and Michelle were probably my favorite parts of the entire dub.
Satoru is the best voice. Which one? Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, so as for me, Like you said before, Hardy, like Michelle Russ played such a wide variety of characters over the years that it's sort of weird she hasn't cast little boys very often because she's always been really good at those, at the rare occasions she does them. I mean, like, since she doesn't do this sort of character much, I was a little bit surprised when I saw her in this role, but after hearing her performance, I totally got it. Like, her acting here is really solid, and and one of the things I really liked about her performance that I'm not sure if anyone else kind of noticed, and I assume is probably intentional, that, like, if you really kind of pay attention to her speech patterns in the dub, like, it kind of slightly mirrors how Ben Diskin talks for adult Satoru, and it really kind of, like, helped to give the impression that she was sort of, like, speaking for him. Like it gave the impression that's more like a grown adult in a child's body than an actual little boy. And it's something I really appreciated because I never really got that vibe in the Japanese track the first time I watched the show. Like, that was always an element I kind of thought was missing, so I really liked that they added that bit here.
I hadn't actually picked up on that, but I can totally see it now that you mention it, yeah.
Yeah, okay, and then as far as Ben Diskin goes, like, at this point, he's pretty much my favorite voice actor in the industry, bar none.
Really?
And, like, and the thing I really like about it is, the thing I really love about his work is that, like, pretty much everything he does sounds different, and his vocal range really helps with that. Like, anime in particular kind of tends to pin actors down to certain kinds of roles. Like, okay, like voice actors usually have, like, a very specific thing they do, and, I mean, that's not really a problem in and of itself, but, like, the great thing about him as an actor is that he always kind of approaches his characters very differently. Like, he never does the exact same kind of thing twice, even when he's doing very similar characters. And it's because of that I've been impressed with just about everything he's done. And, like, even with all that in mind, I gotta say, like, this is probably the best work I've ever seen from him. Like, it's simply the most serious thing he's ever done, even though he's known for, like, doing a lot of heavier stuff. And I was really amazed at just how well he was able to keep his character very, like, composed and down to earth. And, like, with everything he did, from how he portrayed the character's downer attitude to all the heavier emotional beats, like, his performance is really spot on, and it's just, like, another credit to Alex Von Damon's direction. Like, I really liked how they took the sort of detached approach to the narration with all the childhood scenes, since it really kind of gave the impression that he's more, like, overlooking all those scenes as an observer rather than, like, being an actual participant. And, like, one of the things that really got me in his performance, like one little bit in episode 11, like, after Satoru wakes up from his coma after a decade and he loses most of his memories, like, I really appreciate how Ben Diskin portrayed that shift because, like, for all those scenes, he kind of dials back his voice just a little bit to make it sound a little bit softer, a little bit more childlike.
It's very dry, too. It's
a very subtle touch, but I thought it was, like, a really great bit to add, and he didn't have to do that either. Like, he could have just kept doing his normal performance and it would have been fine. But the fact that he went that extra mile just kind of really stuck out to me, and it just really helped add to that performance. Like, everything he does here just really works. And and honestly, again, had this dub been available for the dubbies last year, I would have totally given him my best performance of the year, and I might do it this year anyway because, gosh darn it, he was fantastic. And, like, I'm really, really, really glad he's getting more recognition now because this man absolutely deserves it. Like, everything he does is fantastic, and I am just really glad to hear him and stuff.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Noah, did you have any comments you'd like to make?
I'd just like to say that I am so glad that after he had that outing with Venom, that Ben Diskin finally gets to play a good guy. Because if you didn't know, he also played Eddie Brock in Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yeah, he is Eddie!
Yeah, so I couldn't stop watching the show and thinking, man, Eddie finally got a break after he had his falling out with Venom. The symbiote, not he became Venom. That's not the point. The whole thing about Ben voicing this character is that it actually, I'm going to disagree with you guys a little bit in him being the best role throughout, because I thought there were actually some flat line reads when he first started out. He starts monologuing on his pizza bike, like he's talking about Airi being a weirdo, and he has like just some flat line reads in that opening sequence there. Like, it was taking him a little bit to get into this character, which, to be fair, is hard to do because it's hard to play a drab, droll character without sounding kind of boring. But he finally fell into his groove, I think, when about like halfway through that episode, and then he became the best voice in the whole cast.
Okay.
And then Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed any flatline reads in there, but it just felt like it took him a little while to get into the role.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, yeah, like that's pretty fair.
Now, as for Michelle, it's real. I want to praise her a lot more than I'm going to, but I guess when you play something so archetypally and you do it well, then it's just like the expectation for it is right where I thought it was going to be. She played this role exactly as well as I thought she was going to, which is a great thing because they had the option to like maybe like diverge from the script or the directing a bit and have more I guess like more zaniness than the original Japanese. But no, Michelle, like you said, Hardy, plays a little boy really well, and I have no qualms with it. She's consistently good throughout the whole thing, and I'm really glad that we get a chance to hear her in roles again, because my heart goes out to you.
Yep.
I love you, Michelle.
Well, at least she's Fujiko again.
Oh, yeah.
Yes!
Yeah, that's great.
All is right with the world.
So,
Yes, sir.
I'm just... Yeah, I'm now imagining... What would Nigel Udo say if he was to describe, like, the plot of this as a Kids Next Door mission?
Well, first we have to give the word erased an anagram. So it'll be like,
Oh, God, okay, erased.
Oh, God, no, you're gonna do it.
I'm gonna do this. You know what? While you're doing this for getting your final thoughts out, I'm going to spend time doing this.
Operation Erased. Egregious removal about mama alcoholic destruction. I don't know.
You were almost there, but there wasn't an M.
I know what I'm doing anymore. There's not an M in Erased? How the fuck did I graduate from high school?
Alright, okay, so that's a pretty decent segue into final thoughts.
So,
Who wants to go first on the final thoughts on this spectacular mission that we just went on?
Well, I guess I'll go first. Like, okay, I mean, Erased was one of my favorite shows from the season that it came out, so I was pretty happy to get the chance to watch it again, and honestly, I think I like it even more now than I did the first time, like, and I really think I owe a lot of that to how great the dub is, because both the director and the actors really poured their hearts into this one, and you can really just feel it in how well everything turned out. Like, I mean, the show's not perfect, its final act is definitely kind of its weakest point. I mean, but I think it's certainly worth watching, like, it's a pretty solid thriller for the most part, and I really like Satoru's character arc. And I mean, plus, if nothing else, it's got one heck of a dub, and I'd certainly say, if for nothing else, it's worth checking out for that.
Erased. Early revival adolescent saving everyone's dreams.
okay.
Oh, wow. That is
Holy
actually really
shit.
impressive.
That was actually really good.
Operation Erased.
Now, if Mr. Warburton was actually making more episodes of that Kids Next Door reboot, like they were going to do, but then they chickened out on, you should totally work for
Look,
them.
clearly it's more important to have the Powerpuff Girls reboot, but that's a bitchy conversation for another side. My actual thoughts on this show. Watching this a second time has given me a very interesting perspective on the show, because first time I went a little bit sour because I thought it was a mystery series and it was something else. And that really hurt it in its final act when it changed into something else, and that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. I'll say this, the show itself still has various problems when I first watch it, but at the very least, I went into it with the mindset of the thriller, more aware of what was going to happen, and I kind of gained a new appreciation for the series, at the very least, majorly in parts to being able to watch this dubbed again. Because the dub of this is really strong, some solid performances, and some really impressive vocal work from people like Stephanie Shea, Ben Diskin, Michelle Ruff, and even newcomers like Sarah Cravens, and David Collins. I was particularly impressed with a lot of it all around, and whether or not the show is still worth your time or not, absolutely go watch this undubbed if you have a Hulu account.
Yeah.
It's especially like, did you guys when you watched it again in dub? I know Hardy, this was the first time you watched it, but for Andrew and Jet, did you guys meander through the episodes like a few episodes a day, or did you marathon the whole thing?
Meander.
I almost marathon through it, but I had to like pace myself.
Okay. And Andrew?
I paced. First time I watched it weekly. So that was a different
Right.
experience in and of itself, which probably led to conflicted emotions. Going through the dub again, I went through like at least 2 or 3 episodes a day.
Okay. Well, I'm asking because for my own watching of the dub, I was able to marathon the show last night, actually. It was incredibly easy to watch this episode to episode without getting too bored by it, which you would think a show that you're watching for a second time may not have as much staying power to it. But just because of the direction of the consistency of the dub and being able to pick up on little details in the direction of the animation, now that I'm not watching the subtitles, I really wanted to finish this show as fast as possible.
Yeah. That's how I did it. I started out watching both Erased and Little Witch Academia at the same time. I was going to watch one episode a day until I got through both of them. But then eventually it got to the point to where I really, really wanted to see what was going to happen next. And so I think I got to episode 7 or 8 of Erased, and then I just marathoned it through there. And I'm kind of glad I did, because some of those cliffhangers that were brought out really would have been hard to wait for. And especially if you're watching it weekly through the simulcast.
Yeah. The worst one was when the guy walked on the bus when Kayo was sleeping. That was the one where I was watching that weekly. I was like, fuck!
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, it's just, I thought that this was a solid show. It definitely has its problems, but having watched it for the first time, unlike the rest of you, I just think that this was a fantastically created dub. I have nothing but good things to say about the majority of it, and I'm with Jet. If Aniplex had made it available for streaming earlier during the year of 2016, it probably would have been a major contender for the dubbies, and it might still get a few honorable mentions here and there, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to spend Aniplex prices to buy it, but I really enjoyed it.
At the very least, I do sincerely appreciate that Aniplex has finally decided on a seemingly consistent hub for their dubbed streaming releases, and that's going to make our lives a lot easier, believe me.
As long as they don't start putting stuff on Anime Strike.
Yeah,
Don't jinx it. Don't.
I am knocking on all of this wood right now, Hardy.
Don't even speak their
I
name.
bet you're all like Michael Clark Duncan in Talladega Nights. Don't you put that evil on us, Spaceman Hardy!
No. It's like Harry Potter. It's he who shall not be named.
Streaming service which shall not be named.
We will not talk of Anime Strike. That's a joke for another time, but I think we've all gotten our pieces said.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. This is good, and we need more shows like it.
Okay, so does anyone have anything they want to plug really quick?
Well, first of all, Jet, tell us where you can watch Erased dub.
Plug the show itself.
Okay, yes. If you want to watch Erased, you can currently watch the show subtitled on Crunchyroll or Hulu. The dub itself is available exclusively on Hulu. Hulu is now exclusively a pay-for-play service. You can get a subscription for either $7.99 for streaming with limited ads, or streaming with no ads for $11.99.
And just as a heads up, because I think all of us watched it with the ad version of it, there's like 2 or 3 ads between breaks, and there's like 4 breaks per 24-minute episodes.
Yes, okay, basically if you're going through like a 24-minute episode show, it'll take you like 30 minutes to get through it.
Yeah, it's like watching something on television.
Got it.
Provided your streaming, your internet connection is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have plugged the show. Now we just gotta plug ourselves.
Plug ourselves into the database,
my.
friends.
All right. I am going to plug my own website. Not a website, it's a YouTube channel. Everyone has a YouTube channel these days. And that is youtube.com/journeytraveler, where provided that after I have been very busy with raising a daughter, I just want to point that out. I'm not lazy. I'm just very busy being a parent who does not throw their child in a closet.
Good job.
Thank you. I know I deserve a cookie for that. But at my own YouTube channel, I do have some videos available about animation from the Western world. Voice Actor Shout Out, which is a show that I really need to revive a bit more. That goes into more depth about American voice actors. And who knows what else I may do with that. Let me just get my Ruby to, like, I don't know, like a couple months old, and then we'll talk about that.
I thought you were going to say get my Ruby to Tuesday, and I was about to be very...
Oh my god! Andrew, how are you not a dad already? You have the worst dad puns ever.
Because I am almost 21, still in college, and don't really have a consistent source of income. I'd appreciate not getting a girl pregnant yet.
You could adopt, you could, like, find one in a Cabbage Patch. I don't
But
care,
if you'd like to know where you can find any other shitty jokes I have, you can follow me over at MangaMan9000 on Twitter.com, or you can find me roaming around on the Funimation forums. I also do another podcast for Surreal Resolution called Podcast O&A, which is a fun time about discussing general things happening in anime. And I plugged myself.
Yep. As for me, I'm SpacemanHardy. I don't do any review shows or videos, but I am actually a forum moderator over at the Funimation forums. You can come join us, hang out, and chat, and just have some fun. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at SpacemanHardy, where I post a lot of goat pictures, do a lot of angry rants, and retweet a lot of cheesecake. So, yeah, there's all that.
And he is talking about the bakery item, just so you know.
Actually, both, the fan service and the bakery items, because I love me some food porn and some sexy girls. So.
A man after my own heart.
Are the sexy girls made of cheesecake?
They could be.
That's the new trend. We've done slime girls. Now we should do, like, that old Disney cartoon where everyone was made out of cake and candy. We could have actual bakery good women.
Look, whether it be food or women, you want them in your mouth regardless.
Oh.
Yes! Yes! We will go down this rabbit hole, and we will get arrested for it.
Okay.
All right.
Take us out of this rabbit hole, Jet.
Yep. As for me, you can follow me on Twitter at Divine Nega. You can also read some of my reviews on my blog, Animation Infinity, or my current reviews for My Hero Academia on the Fandom Post. And like Andrew, I'm also sometimes on Podcast O&A, where we talk about seasonal stuff and anime news, so that's pretty fun. And yeah, that's basically it for me. So thanks for joining me tonight, guys. I had a lot of fun with this one.
I had a lot of fun, and I gotta say, I can't believe we spent this entire episode without actually singing the theme song of the show.
You are no Asian Kung Fu generation, Andrew. Don't you even try.
I can be if I want to be.
No, stop.
Jet, I think it's time you pull the plug on the...
Yep. Okay.
Where do those superpowers come from, by the way? He never explains where the superpowers... Okay, so he's got this power to go back in time, and it's never explained at all. He's born this way, and... Is he an X-Men?
I'm just assuming it was meant to be... I'm just assuming it was meant to be a metaphor for...
Kids next door, battle stations!
Hang on your underwear!
Okay, and on that note, we're pretty much done here. So thanks for joining us tonight, everyone, and until next time, Otaku on my friends, and farewell.
Okay.